I'd just like to say to you, Deputy Martin, there are 100,000 people out there who have problems with their mortgages. These 100,000 people are in limbo. The impact and the effect of what the government want to do here is to bring about clarity for those people in respect of their houses, their position, and how they can plan for the future. And the wall of allegation about whole-scale house repossessions, nothing could be further from the truth. The position here is that government over the last 2 years have worked very hard in restructuring the banks, in recapitalising the banks, in making arrangements through the Ryan report for different strategies that can be adopted by banks in bringing in a resolution to the mortgage difficulties for each individual person. And they are all unique, and they are all particular circumstances, including the complexity of the insolvency bill, which is now passed through the Houses, and which agency will open its doors during the summer. The impact of what you're suggesting is that the bank guarantee should be continued. I'm not sure now whether you want to expand the disastrous situation that you had previously by extending that all over Europe. The situation here has been very clear and made very clear by the Minister for Finance. What the government want to do here is to bring about situations where these 100,000 people who have pressure every day and every week in respect of their mortgage problems can have those resolved satisfactorily through a variety of opportunities and methods that are there now. The last of which to be considered is the case of house repossessions. So what we want to see, Deputy Martin, is the vast majority of those 100,000 people happy in the knowledge that a resolution has been brought about in restructuring their mortgage arrangement, to which the bank or the lender and they as client will adhere to in a new format and in a new way that gives them the opportunity to live their lives and plan their lives without this pressure that's been there for the last number of years, which came about, of course, as a result of disastrous policies produced before. But it also allows for those 100,000 people to be able to contribute to their local economy and, as a consequence, to their country. So what we're after here, Deputy Martin, is a situation where the vast majority of these can be resolved, restructured, reconfigured without consideration of house repossessions. I'm quite sure that you understand that very well indeed. You actually identified the problem that's been here for a long time. It is interminable delays in dealing with people's cases. You yourself point out that you're dealing with a case for 12 months and there's no progress made. What we want to see, having put all these things in place here, Deputy Martin, is that there is a quick and effective solution brought about for the individual uniqueness of each case. That's what's needed. And that means that banks have got to sit down with each client and say, what are the circumstances? This is what you borrowed. These are your circumstances now. And work out a solution through many of the variations that are there, because they are all individual. I know, and you know, that banks were saying we cannot do this matter because the question of the loophole in the law was never dealt with. Never dealt with. Well, that question will be dealt with now. And banks themselves have said, banks themselves have been at pain. Sorry, please. Sorry, banks themselves have been at pain to say that the consideration of house repossession is the last resort and the end of the line. But I want to see a situation where the banks don't have an excuse to say they haven't got all of the paraphernalia to deal with this, and to deal with this swiftly and effectively and compassionately with each case. What's been wrong with you in past times is that you never listened. Now, what I want to do here, Deputy Martin, is work with these 100,000 people. I understand that the banks have now said that they've been training people for some considerable time because they lost the capacity to deal with this particular problem. And I now understand that they have trained personnel to work with clients individually to work out a solution and a resolution of what the particular circumstances might be for any mortgage. And the last consideration The last is the question of house repossession. So the Minister for Finance tomorrow will address this matter. And I do hope that timelines and targets and objectives will set out that from now on, having put all of this together, including the insolvency agency, that the situation will be that when banks do engage with client X or client Y or whatever else, that there will be a quick and speedy, compassionate resolution here that both parties will then adhere to in a restructured and reorganised fashion. That's what we want, Deputy Martin, that those 100,000 people can then contribute to the well-being of their locality and their economy, and we can offer them hope and confidence for the future.
Taoiseach.
Yes, you did raise this before, and we addressed the matter at that stage. I did speak to the Minister for Health about it. I don't want to single out any individual case, as Deputy Adams is aware, but this is obviously very frustrating for parents and in particular for children, young children, who have to meet this particular challenge. Deputy Adams is aware that since this programme commenced 17 years ago, I think there have been about 700 cochlear implants and about 90 per year that are done here. The question of why it's not a dual situation here, this has been going on for quite a considerable amount of years in Britain and Northern Ireland. Now, I spoke to the Minister about it. You yourself got a letter from him. I can confirm to you that last week there was actually a very good meeting between the HSE, the Department of Health, and the organisation known as Happy New Year. And I understand that that meeting was very positive. And that while the Minister pointed out to you in his letter, Deputy Adams, that the matter is a case for the HSE and Beaumont Hospital to deliver on their programme. Clearly the intention here is to do something about it. Can I answer your question to say whether the young boy that you mentioned will have a dual implant provided when he goes in for the next examination? I can't answer that for you now, except to say that I would regard this as being a very positive development. I understand the cost is around 20,000 in these cases, and they're reviewed obviously as time goes on. So what I can confirm to you is that I have spoken to the Minister directly about it. He is interested in seeing that this policy position might be adopted in a similar way in Ireland here as has applied in the United Kingdom and Britain for quite a long time. And that last week there was a great positivity about the meeting in regard to this policy and the question that arises from the specific individual boy's case that you mentioned. So I can keep you updated on that, Deputy Adams. There are 200 children approximately in the country today who would be deemed to be suitable for a second implant. It's also true to say, though, Deputy, that not all parents want to proceed with a bilateral implant, even after assessment like that. And there are 10 children, I understand, who have received bilateral implants because of their specific medical condition. Deputy Adams is correct when he says that it's about 20,000. So you're talking about a 4 million estimate here. But I would assume that as a child with a unilateral implant now, when that will go for review or for analysis or for updating, that will be the appropriate time to consider the bilateral implant were that to be so. Normally, depending on the assessment control of the multidisciplinary teams that are involved here, it's about 4 to 6 months from assessment before a child would receive a single implant in any event. Let me confirm again, Deputy Adams, that my understanding is that the meeting last week was very positive, that it is the intention to phase in this programme in 2014 for bilateral implants. That's why I said here I can't give you confirmation now of the particular child, young boy that you mentioned. So from this matter having been raised, the question of the policy of dual implementation or bilateral implementation is one that is now being considered between Beaumont Hospital and the HSE. Together with the Happy New Year group last week, there was great positivity with an intention to introduce phase-in 2014. So I keep Deputy Adams updated. Well, obviously, these bilateral implants have been carried out in England for quite some time. You know, we've had occasions in the past where people who can't receive treatment here are oftentimes, in very specialist cases, gone abroad.
Sorry, Deputy. Sorry, Deputy. Individual case.
Well, I think if you've got a specific letter about it, maybe you might give me that, because the Minister for Health is anxious that this matter would be addressed, and the question of the facility being provided is one that is being discussed now between the HSE and Beaumont Hospital. So take it from there. I recall this incident. I recall reading about it and have received some correspondence about it in the past. I know that the Minister for Justice, when as an opposition deputy, had a particular interest in areas of this. Deputy McGrath has outlined some features of the death of Father Malloy. This is a serious matter, and I'm not going to comment on it further, except to say that I bring the facts raised here by Deputy McGrath to the attention of the Minister on his return. I'm not going to commit to an independent inquiry without a full analysis by the Minister for Justice. And I think I should say that this is not a matter to be treated lightly. McGrath, the Minister for Justice has at his disposal, obviously, many more matters of relevance to this than I have. And as I say, I will ask the Minister to reflect on the situation and advise us in due course.